Have you ever really stopped to think about how artificial intelligence isn't just, another piece of technology, but something that could fundamentally change how we even perceive reality itself,
It's a huge question, a really profound one.
right? Because as these AI systems build these incredibly complex models of the world, it kind of forces us to ask, okay, what is reality
Yeah.
fundamentally? And what does it even mean to understand it?
Yeah, and it's a question that seems to really mirror the way AI itself is developing. As you watch it progress, it almost feels like it's climbing up through the layers of existence we live in.
How so?
Well, from the basic laws of physics, then moving into the complexity of life, and maybe even eventually up towards human consciousness, AI isn't just watching this unfold. It's becoming a real force within it, a powerful current, you could say.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the journey we want to take you on today. We're looking at this fantastic, really deep conversation between Lex Fridman and Demis Hassabis, the head of Google DeepMind.
hmm
And we're going to view it through this really interesting philosophical framework from William L. Weaver called the River of Reality.
Right. So this isn't just a summary.
No, not at all. It's about seeing how AI is kind of emerging as this powerful, maybe transformative force within what we're calling the digital river of reality.
And our goal here for you listening is to try and unpack these really complex, interwoven ideas. We're pulling together threads from, cutting edge AI research, but also fundamental physics and even some deep philosophy.
We want to give you those aha
Yeah.
moments, right? Sort of a shortcut to grasping just how big this topic is and what the implications might be for, well, everything.
Yeah, it's about seeing the universe and maybe our place in it through this new kind of AI-informed lens.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this river of reality idea. Weaver's framework, it starts right at the source with what he calls the foundational physical flows. These are energy, material, and information.
Think of it like the absolute bedrock of the universe, the basic currents that everything else, literally everything, builds on. This is the world of physics, of chemistry, the fundamental interactions.
And what's just fascinating and kind of the core of this first part is how AI seems to be showing this almost like intuitive grasp of these physical flows.
Right. It's not like we're sitting down and programming AI with Newton's laws or complex equations. It seems to be learning the rules of the universe just by observing massive amounts of data.
Like how a kid learns physics by playing with blocks, maybe, not by reading a textbook.
Exactly. It's that kind of intuitive understanding. And Demis Hassabis gives this really mind-blowing example from Google DeepMind's video model, VEO.
Oh, yeah, the video generation stuff. What did he say?
He talked about how VEO can model things like clear liquids going through hydraulic presses with just astonishing accuracy, and how well it handles materials, specular lighting, basically, how light reflects off different surfaces.
And Hassabis knows this stuff, right? He used to build these engines for games.
He did. And he emphasizes just how painstakingly hard it was back then to get even close to what VEO seems to do almost effortlessly now. He said it felt almost like magic coming from his background.
Wow. So the big question is how? How does it do that just from watching YouTube videos?
Well, Hasaba says VEO models liquids surprisingly well by essentially reverse engineering from all that video data. It's not just copying pixels, you see. It implies it's actually figuring out the underlying structure of how materials behave in the real world.
So it's inferring the rules, not just mimicking what it sees.
Precisely. It's getting at the physics underneath.
Okay, so let's put that in simpler terms. We're talking about things like fluid dynamics, right? How water flows, how smoke swirls.
Yeah, and mathematically that's described by things like the Navier-Stokes equations, which are notoriously complex, like incredibly hard to solve.
People use supercomputers for that stuff, like for weather forecasting.
Exactly. They are very, very difficult, intractable problems for traditional computers, needing enormous amounts of compute. But VEO seems to get this intuitive physics, like a kid knows water splashes, without needing, a PhD to calculate the equations.
It's like AI is developing a feel for physics.
That's a great way to put it. And this leads Hassabis to a really deep thought. He suggests VEO's success hints at a lower dimensional manifold that can be learned.
Okay, lower dimensional manifold. What does that mean in practice?
Basically, it suggests that maybe most of reality, underneath all the surface complexity, operates on a much simpler, sort of compressed, learnable structure than we thought.
Like a hidden pattern or a shortcut through the complexity.
Yeah, like a universal cheat code that AI is starting to find.
So connecting this back to Weaver's framework, this is AI hitting Tier 1 mastery, understanding the physical world.
That's how we're framing it. It's building this internal model of physical reality. It deciphers the flow of information, the pixels in the videos to understand the flow of material, how liquids move, which is all governed by the flow of energy. It's getting the fundamental building blocks.
Okay. And this mastery, this Tier 1 understanding, sets the stage for something even bigger Hassab has proposed.
Yes, his really provocative conjecture, something he even mentioned in his Nobel Prize lecture. He proposed, any pattern that can be generated or found in nature can be efficiently discovered and modeled by a classical learning algorithm.
Whoa. Okay, that's a huge claim. Any pattern in nature.
Any pattern. He means the complex structures across biology, chemistry, physics, cosmology, even neuroscience. Think about problems like finding the best move in Go or predicting how a protein folds its specific shape.
Things that seem impossibly complex.
Right. He calls them combinatorially high-dimensional spaces, which means if you tried to check every single possibility brute force it, there wouldn't be enough time in the time of the universe to find the answer.
But AI has solved some of these, like protein folding with AlphaFold.
Exactly. And AlphaGo found Go moves that surprised human grandmasters.
So how does AI do it then, if not brute force?
Hassab says the key is that these alpha systems build models of those environments. They learn the landscape, so to speak, and use that model to guide their search intelligently. It makes these seemingly intractable problems tractable.
It's searching smarter, not harder.
Precisely. And this connects to a deeper idea that nature itself, through evolution, is doing a search process.
Evolution as a search.
Yeah. Think about it. Biological systems, proteins, they aren't random. They create systems that could be efficiently modeled because they have structure that evolved for a reason and survived over time. It's this non-random structure that AI can latch onto and learn.
Okay, that makes sense. Nature isn't just throwing random things together.
Right, and this is where it gets even more interesting, dipping into theoretical computer science. Hassab brings up the P versus NP problem.
Oh boy. The million-dollar question, right? Or it was.
Yeah. Basically, it asks, if you can quickly check if a solution is correct, can you also quickly find that solution? Like, checking if a key fits a lock is easy, but finding the right key among millions might be hard.
So what's Hassabis's take?
He sees it becoming a physics question. If you view the universe as fundamentally informational, where information is primary, then the question becomes about what kinds of problems the universe allows to be solved efficiently.
Huh. So the laws of physics might dictate computational complexity.
That's the implication. He believes that classical systems, Turing machines, which is basically what our current neural networks are, can go a lot further than we previously thought in solving these hard problems, precisely because the universe seems built on these learnable patterns. Nature gives us these cheat codes, essentially.
So his conjecture is that because nature has structure, classical AI can learn it. What about things that are truly random or chaotic?
Good question. He suggests most emergent systems, things like cellular automata, which generate complexity from simple rules, are probably modelable, but he puts chaotic systems where tiny changes have huge, unpredictable effects, like long-term weather right on the boundary. That's where it gets really difficult for classical systems, so there are still limits or frontiers.
Okay, that makes sense. So AI masters physics, finds patterns. What's next in the river of reality?
That brings us beautifully to Tier 2, the leap into essentially digital life. We move from those predictable physical flows to the adaptive, self-organizing complexity of biology.
Where the basic flows of energy, material, and information get harnessed for life's purposes, like self-regulation, replication.
Exactly. It's a massive jump in complexity and emergence. And the prime example here is AlphaFold.
Right, the protein folding breakthrough. That felt huge when it happened.
It was enormous. Protein folding was this grand challenge in biology for like 50 years. How do these long chains of amino acids fold up into their perfect 3D shapes in milliseconds in our bodies? Because that shape dictates their function. Everything depends on it.
And AlphaFold just solved it.
Pretty much, yeah. Its ability to predict these fantastically complex structures accurately was a true crowning achievement. In Weaver's framework, you can see this as AI's definitive step into Tier 2. It's like the digital equivalent of understanding how inanimate matter first organized itself into a living system.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. It's not just data crunching, it's deciphering the rules of biological organization.
Exactly, and it's not stopping. AlphaFold 3 can now model interactions between proteins, RNA, and DNA. Systems like AlphaGenome are predicting how tiny genetic changes affect function. You see AI creeping along, tackling more and more complex biological systems.
Building a deeper understanding of life's machinery.
Which leads directly to Hassabis's really big long-term dream, the virtual cell.
A complete simulation of a living cell.
That's the vision. He's apparently dreamed about this for 25 years, starting with something like a yeast cell, because it's relatively simple for a cell and very well understood biologically.
Why, though? What's the point of simulating a cell?
The potential payoff is immense. The idea is to run experiments on the virtual cell entirely in the computer in silico. This could potentially 100x speed up experiments compared to doing them in a wet lab.
So instead of months in a lab, you could run simulations in days or hours.
Potentially, yes. Imagine drug discovery, vaccine development, understanding diseases. You could test millions of ideas virtually, then just validate the most promising ones in the real lab. It would revolutionize biology.
Okay, that sounds incredible. But modeling a whole cell must be insanely difficult.
Oh, absolutely. Hassabis points out several huge challenges. AlphaFold gave us mostly static pictures of proteins, but a cell is dynamic, constantly changing. AlphaFold 3 starts getting at dynamics, the interactions, but a whole cell is orders of magnitude more complex.
Things happen at different speeds in a cell, right?
Exactly. That's the varying timescales problem. Protein folding is lightning fast, gene expression, cell division much slower. Modeling all that together might need, as he puts it, several simulated systems working together, maybe a hierarchical system.
You can't simulate every single atom, I guess.
No way. That's the granularity and abstraction challenge. You have to decide the right cutoff level. Do you model proteins, groups of proteins? You need to capture the essential dynamics without getting bogged down in impossible detail. Finding that balance is key.
So, okay, simulating a known cell is hard enough. What about simulating the origin of life, going from chemicals to life? Lex Fridman called it the pothead question.
Yeah, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? Could AI simulate life emerging from a chemical soup?
What does Hassabis think?
He strongly believes there isn't some magic line between non-living and living. He sees it as a continuum. Physics flows into chemistry, which flows into biology. And he says, quite passionately, this question is his whole reason why I've worked on AI and AGI my whole life. He sees AI as the ultimate tool to help us finally answer it.
So if AI could simulate life emerging, that would be monumental.
Absolutely. It could unlock one of the deepest mysteries. So within the framework, creating a virtual cell would be a true Tier 2 creation. It mirrors that jump from chemistry to life in the real world.
Okay, so we've gone from physics to biology. Where does the river of reality take us next?
Upstream again, into Tier 3. The human sociocultural hierarchy. This is where human societies, cultures, economies, all our complex realities emerge, building on those physical and biological foundations.
And this is where AI's impact starts feeling very direct, very personal.
Definitely. The first level here, level 1, is science. In Weaver's terms, science studies truth and produces data. And organized data creates that stable and predictable shared understanding of reality, the fundamental flow of information that lets us build knowledge.
And Hassabis sees AI as a tool for science.
Oh, massively. He calls it potentially the greatest scientific tool ever, not just an assistant, but a partner. He talks about AI accelerating science, finding patterns in data that humans cannot, and even potentially forming novel scientific conjectures.
Like AI proposing entirely new scientific theories.
That's the dream. But he also adds a really interesting human element, research taste.
Research taste, what's that?
It's knowing what the right question is to ask, what hypothesis is worth pursuing out of infinite possibilities. He says that's the hardest part of science, that leap of imagination Einstein had. And current AI, he admits, can't do that yet.
So AI is great at solving problems, maybe like a math Olympiad champ, but not yet at inventing the problems.
That seems to be the distinction he's making, which connects to another idea he mentioned, the binary search in research.
How does that work?
In really fundamental blue sky research, he suggests no such thing as failure. If your experiment is well designed, any result, positive or negative, meaningfully splits the hypothesis space. It tells you something, narrows down the possibilities, guides you closer to the truth, just like a binary search algorithm. AI could be amazing at designing those kinds of informative experiments.
Interesting. Okay, so after science information, what's the next level in Tier 3?
Level 2 is art, which generates the flow of connection. Weaver frames art as studying membership and producing beauty. It's about creating shared identity, meaning belonging.
And how does AI fit into art and connection?
This is where Hassabis gets really animated about video games. He calls them my first love. He sees AI powering mind-blowing games that could be a really profound expression of this flow of connection.
Games as connection.
He talks about moving beyond the illusion of choice you get in many games. Now he mentions the Stanley Parable as a game that plays with this idea.
Right, where your choices don't always matter as much as you think.
Exactly. He envisions truly open worlds where the AI can dynamically change the story and storytell the narrative around your actions, your imagination. Not pre-scripted branches, but genuinely unique experiences where you are kind of co-creating the game with the AI.
A world that truly reacts and adapts to the player.
Yeah. And this links to that viral tweet about playable world models. When will we get these playable models of the world? Hassabis himself replied, now wouldn't that be something?
So the goal is to make those video generation models, like VEO, interactive.
Ultimately, yes. To create a model of how the world works, the mechanics of the world, the physics of the world, because he argues that kind of deep world understanding is exactly what's needed for a true AGI system. Intelligence needs to grasp reality to interact meaningfully.
And it needs to be better than just random procedural generation, which can feel kind of empty sometimes.
Right. He wants games that are a little bit better than just sort of a random generation, using generated systems that create coherent, compelling experiences on the fly. He even connected it back to his early work on Black and White, where the creature learned from you an early form of AI-driven narrative.
It feels like this has been his vision for a long, long time.
It really does, and he raises a fascinating philosophical point, too. As AI handles more difficult, boring tasks, what we call work, maybe video games become a primary source of meaning for people.
Exploring different ways of living, different identities in these rich virtual worlds.
Exactly, pushing the boundaries of human experience in safe, engaging ways. It's interesting, too, that both Hassabis and Elon Musk have deep roots in gaming. Hassabis points out the games industry in the 90s was really pushing the envelope on AI, graphics, physics, GPU stuff that's foundational for AI today.
It was like an incubator.
Yeah, and that forward-looking spirit continues with things like AlphaEvolve at DeepMind.
AlphaEvolve? What's that?
It's a system that literally evolves algorithms. It uses large language models to propose creative solutions and then uses evolutionary computing to explore the search space in novel ways. It's about generating new emergent capabilities, which was always hard for traditional evolutionary methods, but maybe modern AI can crack it by combining things and building increasingly complex hierarchical systems.
Okay, wow. So we've covered science, information, and art connection.
Yeah.
What are the higher levels of this sociocultural tier?
We move now to level 3, religion, or perhaps more broadly, values. This generates the flow of hierarchy.
Hierarchy. How does that follow from art and connection?
Well, Weaver's idea is that once you have shared identity and connection from art, society can develop shared ethics and values. Religion, this is the study of value, and it produces judgment, our collective sense of what's important, what's right or wrong. This creates a flow of hierarchy, a shared understanding of priorities and moral principles.
Like AI safety fits right in here, doesn't it?
Perfectly. You can frame AI safety and alignment as the systematic study of value. It forces us, maybe for the first time collectively, to really try and codify what is important. We have to embed our ethics into AI through things like objective functions and constitutional principles. We're literally trying to build AI's moral compass.
Which is incredibly difficult.
Monumentally difficult, but absolutely crucial. Because this shared hierarchy, this agreement on values, is what allows for widespread social trust. And trust is the bedrock for level 4. Economics, the flow of commerce.
No trust, no complex economy.
Exactly. You can't have sophisticated trade and cooperation without it. And this is where Hassabis gets really optimistic, talking about radical abundance driven by AI. This would be a complete fundamental reshaping of this flow of commerce.
Abundance driven by AI. How?
Primarily through energy, he thinks. DeepMind's already worked on making data centers more energy efficient, optimizing power grids. But the really big potential is AI helping with breakthroughs like plasma containment fusion reactors.
The holy grail of clean energy.
Right. And also AI helping with material design, finding new materials for super efficient solar panels, maybe even room temperature superconductors, better batteries, stuff that could revolutionize energy storage and generation.
And he thinks this is actually plausible.
He makes a bold prediction. In 20 to 40 years, fusion and solar are the two that I would bet on, becoming our main energy sources, leading to clean, almost free, or perhaps free energy.
Almost free energy.
Yeah.
The knock-on effects would be unbelievable.
Totally transformative. He suggests that with effectively free, clean energy, humanity could reach a Type I civilization on the Kardashev scale using all the energy available on Earth within maybe 100 years.
And that solves other problems, too.
He thinks so. Things like water access become easy with cheap desalination. You could even make unlimited rocket fuel from seawater. It opens up possibilities like large-scale asteroid mining, maybe even a bus service to space.
Wow, that's a vision of maximum human flourishing to the stars. A non-zero-sum world, finally.
That's the hope he paints. For the first time in human history, potentially. And it's a big but, he stresses this amazing future depends entirely on the trust we can place in the values embedded within these powerful AI systems managing it all.
So it comes back to that hierarchy level, back to trust and values.
Always. The technology and the ethics have to advance together, which brings us to the final level in Tier 3. Level 5, politics, the flow of governance.
Okay, so how does politics fit in?
The idea is that all this complex commerce creates collective action problems. Things individuals or small groups can't solve alone. Climate change, pandemics, managing AI itself. This requires politics, which studies force in the sense of power and authority, and produces action laws, regulations, policies. This is the flow of governance.
It provides the negative feedback loops, the rules of the road.
Exactly. Regulation, laws, boundaries to keep the system stable and fair. But the challenge now is that AI is dramatically accelerating commerce and complexity so fast
that our old ways of governing can't keep up.
That's the worry. It simultaneously creates an urgent need for new, more adaptive forms of governance to ensure AI benefits the whole of society rather than consuming it.
And Hassabis thinks this change is coming incredibly fast.
He estimates AI's impact would be probably 10 times the impact the Industrial Revolution had, but 10 times faster. That's an almost unimaginable rate of change. It means economists, philosophers, policymakers need to be thinking right now about how society is going to be affected.
Including how work changes, like for programmers, for instance.
Yeah, he suggests programmers won't be replaced but will need to adapt, embracing these technologies to become superhumanly productive. They'll be guiding AI coding assistants, focusing on higher-level design and problem solving. It shifts where humans are needed most.
Moving up the value chain, essentially.
Right, but there's also the dark side. AI is a dual-use technology. The potential for misuse, especially in weapons, is terrifying.
So how do we govern that?
Hassabis hopes for global cooperation. He wants something more collaborative, like international science projects such as a CERN project rather than a dangerous arms race, a new Manhattan project. That requires new kinds of global governance structures.
And can AI itself help manage the risks?
Maybe. He touches on using AI for early warning on some of the bad actor use cases, but then you have the incredibly tricky problem of restricting access to powerful AI without stopping beneficial uses. That probably needs international agreement, which is politically very hard.
A massive challenge. And interestingly, he loops back to games here, too.
He does. He speculates that maybe hyper-realistic, engaging games could serve a purpose by pushing people away from war, channeling that human drive for conflict, whatever that is, into safe virtual arenas like sophisticated sports.
A way to sublimate those drives constructively.
Perhaps. It's an intriguing thought.
Okay, so we've climbed through physics, biology, and the layers of sociocultural reality, science, art, values, economics, politics. What's left? Where does the river reach?
It reaches its capstone, philosophy. In Weaver's framework, philosophy is this transcendental meta-system. It looks back and reflects on the entire hierarchy, studying wisdom and producing frameworks like the River of Reality framework itself. And this reflection, this self-awareness, generates the ultimate emergent flow, consciousness.
So all these deep questions Hassabis and Friedman discuss, defining AGI, the nature of consciousness, what makes humans unique, that is the philosophical capstone in action.
Exactly. They're engaging in that profound self-reflection, using AI as this new, incredibly powerful mirror to understand ourselves and our existence.
And Hassabis has a really high bar for AGI, doesn't he?
He really does. It's not just about being smart in one area. He says it needs to match all those capabilities of a human brain, show consistency of intelligence across the board, and possess true invention capabilities and creativity. General, adaptable, and creative.
He talks about Move 37 moments for AGI, like AlphaGo's famous surprising move.
Yeah, those lighthouse moments he looks for. For AGI, It might be inventing a completely new conjecture or a new hypothesis about physics, like Einstein did from 1900s knowledge. Or maybe inventing a game that's as deep, as aesthetically beautiful, as elegant as Go. True invention, not just optimization.
And then there's the really big one, consciousness, the hard problem.
The ultimate mystery, how information feels when we process it. Why is there subjective experience? Why does the color red look red? Why does anything feel like anything at all?
And the debate about whether it's computable or needs something more, like quantum physics.
Right. Hassabis mentions Roger Penrose's view that consciousness might be quantum mechanical. Hassabis says he cordially disagrees and is betting on classical computation being sufficient to eventually model intelligence. But he fully admits that this final mysterious things of the feeling of consciousness, the qualia, the actual subjective feeling, remains deeply mysterious.
We don't know if silicon can feel.
We don't. Which leads to this wild speculation about future brain-computer interfaces, like Neuralink. We might actually be able to feel for ourselves what it's like to compute on silicon. Could we develop empathy for different kinds of minds, different substrates?
That's a mind-bending thought. Empathy for silicon.
It pushes the boundaries, for sure. And it all comes back to that question. As AI gets smarter, maybe even conscious, what does make humans special? Is it just intelligence, or is it curiosity, compassion, love, adaptability?
It forces us to define our own essence.
Yeah. And Richard Feynman had that great quote about how understanding a flower scientifically only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe, making it more beautiful. Understanding doesn't diminish wonder. It's like the idea, what I cannot create, I do not understand.
So building AI helps us understand ourselves.
That seems to be the ultimate takeaway. Building AI and comparing it to us is maybe the best way to uncover what's special about the human mind, if indeed there is anything special. AI becomes, as Weaver might say, not just a subject for philosophy, but a participant in philosophy. It's a mirror.
Despite all the risks and unknowns, Hassabis seems hopeful.
He does. He talks about his belief in our almost limitless ingenuity and extreme adaptability. We went from hunter-gatherers to flying planes and playing video games. Adapting to AI, he thinks, is just the next step.
Cautious optimism, right?
Definitely. He acknowledges the huge stakes both ways. It could solve everything, disease, scarcity, or lead to doom scenarios. So the rational thing, he argues, is the scientific approach. Do more research to try and more precisely define those risks and, of course, address them.
Treat it like a scientific challenge.
Exactly. And the ultimate goal, the driving purpose, he states, is to steward this unbelievable technology safely into the world for the benefit of humanity.
Wow. What a journey. So that brings us to the end of this deep dive through the digital river of reality. We went from AI basically learning physics.
Right, through its emergence in biology with AlphaFold.
And then into all those complex layers of human society, science, art, economics, governance.
Finally reaching that philosophical peak where AI forces us to confront consciousness and what it means to be human, it really shows how a framework like Weaver's River of Reality can help make sense of this incredible acceleration and complexity.
It gives you a map, a way to understand the foundational assumptions.
Exactly. It helps achieve a kind of mastery through understanding.
So, as we leave you to ponder all this, here's a final thought. What stands out to you about how AI, by mimicking and extending our grasp of reality, isn't just changing the world out there, but maybe profoundly changing how we understand ourselves and our own place in this vast, complex universe?